What's up, everybody? This is D, and I'm hanging out with my brother, the late Boy Scout, and we're celebrating an awesome occasion. This is a letter from the state saying that I am felony free and I am eligible to buy a handgun if I so choose, and I'm really excited about all this.
Right on, man. So let's sit down and find out how you got there.
Let's do it.
Hey guys, late Boy Scout here for the third installment in this Druggie to Gunnie series here with my brother D.
What's up, guys?
So as you saw in the introduction, yeah, he's felony free now.
Felony free.
Felony free. We got the papers to prove it. Check that out. Not that, you know what any of that means, but this is the paper. This is the letter he received saying you're felony free. It's off your record.
Took a lot of work.
Yeah, it took a lot of work. So how long was the process from the start to finish?
2.5 months. I started it a few months back, and it took 2.5 months to accomplish all that. And it was a long, grueling process. And kind of set up to fail, but if you're diligent enough, they'll let you get it taken care of.
So, I guess that's kind of disheartening to hear that it's that hard to do. Because hopefully there's some folks out there watching that are eligible to do something like this and want to do something like this. Maybe you have a felony on your record, you want to get it expunged because you want to get that freedom back to own a firearm or other freedoms. But it's a grueling process. You can see that just by looking at it, and you're getting a little disheartened, and you don't want to get started. You just want to leave it alone. So in this segment of this series, hopefully we'll give you a little bit of information about what it took to get from point A to point B, and all those little pinpoints in between that led you to the point that you are now legal to own a firearm. Cool. So what was the first thing you had to do?
So the first thing I had to do was contact the Bureau of Criminal Identification and apply to see what parts of my criminal history could be expunged from my record. And when I went up there were 3 things that were eligible. One was a DUI, one was a park curfew violation, which I did not bother removing from like 10 years ago. I was up too late. Okay. And then another one was that burglary charge. And so first thing I did was I went up there and found out I had to pay a fee just for them to process the information and who I am and make it all line up. And then 2-3 weeks later, they sent me a letter saying, here's the eligible
the thing that you were eligible to get cleared.
Yeah, here's the paper showing what I'm eligible to have removed, and on there were those charges. And so I started with the burglary and the alcohol-related reckless driving, the DUI, and the DUI was much more easy to get removed. But the process, I'll just talk about the burglary. Being a second-degree felony, it's very, very strict on how you're going to go about getting it removed and how some of the leniencies involved. But what I had to do, I filled out that paperwork. They sent me the letter. I went down to the courthouse and met with a lady at the front desk and said, here's what I'm eligible to have expunged. What do I do? They gave me this packet and all this stuff and website to go to and information to read and all these places and all this stuff that I'm just like, can you be more specific? Because this is a lot of work and I never done this before. And so she was pretty helpful. She wanted to get me started, but she gave me some outline of some things to do and started by contacting the prosecutor's office and asking them for their letter of recommendation to show that I'm eligible and they approve me of having this felony removed. And because a lot of times you may have committed a crime since and they're not very likely to help you out, or maybe you're going through some probation phase and they may have some regulations there about that and might not want to remove those at the time. Okay. Maybe they want to see a little more history of a change in your life. Okay. But this being so long ago, this being 10, 11 years ago, they were pretty open to do that. But so that process started. That took a couple weeks, And I remember, you only had 90-day window from when they sent you a letter to saying what you're eligible to be removed. You had a 90-day window to respond and get it taken care of, right? So, so keep that in mind, because this process took me 2.5 months to get removed. So another 2 weeks, and I would have to start over. You know what I mean? So they time it, so it's like you got to be on it. You got to show you're responsible, and you got to work for it and pay attention. And that's what I did. So following after the prosecutor's letter, I had to go to another courthouse and where the files were of all the charges, and go there and take them letters of recommendations, and then gather more information, wait for more letters to come to my home saying, okay, you're now at this phase, you can now proceed to this step, whatever.
Okay.
You know, then I go to back to the original courthouse, turn that information in. Okay. Then there's this big long waiting period for them to kind of sort out, decide, you know, kind of wait, make sure nothing else pops up. Mm-hmm. So after 2 months of that, then they turn it into the judge, who then signs off on it. And then at that point, they mail that back to me with all these certified letters that I got to send back to the original Bureau of Criminal Identification, BCI. I have to send that to them, and then they come back and say, here's your letter, and this is what I ended up with, saying the following charges. This letter is to notify you that the following charges have been expunged from your record on the Utah Criminal History System. A copy of your expungement order has been forwarded to the FBI. So then it has the charges that were removed, and so that at that point I now feel okay. I'm totally clean. I'm totally off record.
Yeah.
And you know, I can begin the next. I can now begin, you know, the next series of life and do what I need to do, get a firearm or do what I want to do there. So
wow. So that whole process, like you said, took 2.5 months.
Yeah.
Was there any point in there where it was just like you felt like it was pulling teeth to get something done?
Well, the thing is, I tried this 5 years ago, and I really looked into it then, and within the first week of getting it all going, I said, this is just too much work right now. I gave up, and I didn't have as much purpose at the time to get it removed. I wasn't motivated to, you know, have a firearm or anything at that point, but yeah, there were people. I left people voicemails after voicemail. It took 2 weeks at one period as I'm waiting for some things to happen of trying to contact the judge's assistant or something like that, some lady that works directly with the judge, to find out if they have signed off on it or when they're going to sign off on it. And so that was really hard. There was another person at the front desk of the courthouse that wasn't very helpful. I was lucky to work with another woman that really was, you know, I told her a lot about myself and told her this is, you know, a little bit about my story, and this is, I could have had this removed a long time ago. Yeah. And I just was lazy, but now I am motivated and I want to move to the next phase of my life. And so she was pretty helpful, and she remembered me through the whole process and was glad to see me when I saw her the last time, to kind of send me on my way with the paperwork to the judge and stuff. So
wow.
So it was extremely tedious, and I just, if that alone will probably keep me from burglarizing somebody's house ever again. So
knowing you'll have to go through that process again. Man, so it sounds like if it weren't for that one person, that one lady that was open and you know, willing to sort of listen to your story and kind of get that connection going with you, it might have been a much more tedious process.
Oh, definitely. She was very helpful where a few other people hadn't really started. I remember the first time I went down to the first lady did not know really what the process was to begin, so she referred me to another lady who was the woman that helped me.
Okay. So, I mean, I think what we can kind of gather from this experience is that the folks that you need to talk to, all the people that are in place, and all the, you know, and all the public departments that help with all this stuff, I guess they don't really have any personal motivation to see this through for you.
It can be like somebody at the post office. They're just there to do their job. They're not taking any extra favors. They're not doing anything extra for you. They're just, you know,
if they don't get to you by the end of the day, you've been standing there in line for 4 hours.
Doesn't make any sense.
It's
One
okay
employee
with them.
and 50 customers doesn't make any sense.
That happened to me just the other day.
Okay.
I mean, I was like 4 from the front of the line, and it took me a half an hour to get served. But by the time I left, there were like 13 people behind me.
Yeah.
13 people behind me whose days were ruined.
I guess they're all government workers. They have
All
something in common.
Not
Bless them.
Bless
You're all
them,
good.
yeah.
You're all good.
You're all wonderful
I wouldn't want to
people.
deal with me either.
But what we learned from that is, ultimately, it's a process that you yourself need to have the responsibility to see through.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't take the initiative and put up with the crap and put up with the difficulty and the lack of help and personal assistance, if you don't do that, you're never going to get this done.
Well, if you're not proactive, that's the thing. You have to be really proactive through that whole process. And I know there's other people out there that are in my situation or maybe have felony for some other reason, and they want to get that removed. It's something you have to really commit to and say, this is going to cost some money. It cost me a couple $100s to do all that and get all that paperwork going and submitted and everything. And you just have to stay dedicated to it. Once you start paying for something, once you start that first initial payment, the $25 for them to run your background or whatever, that's when you got to just go all out and stay on top of people. Keep calling, because they're not going to make you their first priority.
No.
And so you got to leave messages and keep calling and ask for instruction and ask for direction, because they kind of assume like, well, you got yourself into this problem, you should probably get yourself out, but how am I supposed to know how to do that on my own? I'm on the other side of the wall now, and I need some help, and thankfully, I think some people understand that and are willing to help you out if you really show your initiative in it and you're being proactive and you're making it happen. So
start the process, stick through it. Whatever state you live in, the process might be a little different from the one that Dee had to go through, or there may be a few details that we didn't explain in full, in full technicolor or whatever. But the processes are there, the opportunity is there. If you're a person who was in Dee's situation where you had certain types of felonies on your record and you wanted to get them cleared so you get some of those freedoms back that you want to have, such as being legal to own a gun, the opportunity is there. You just got to have the initiative. You got to stick with it. You got to make it happen, and that's kind of what it comes down to, I guess.
Yep.
Well, there you go, guys. That has been part 3 in our Druggie to Gunnie series, but this is not the last part. Now you got to get a gun.
You got to go get a gun. I think I have some in mind, but
yeah,
we'll make it a surprise.
We'll make it a surprise for you guys.
I really like Jack Bauer, but he's a little expensive.
So stick around for part 4, where you find out what Dee decided to buy for his first gun.
Thanks, guys.
We'll see you later.